Hi, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Vera, and on here I like to talk about anything that's going on in my knitting life. So I am a knitter. I am currently living in Austria, in the mountains, and I just kind of like sharing online on YouTube here what I'm knitting, how things are going in my knitting life. I love watching other people on here as well. I think it's such a lovely community. So today I am here with a very exciting video, or at least exciting to me, because I'm going to talk about what I have planned for autumn in terms of my knitting projects. Now we're at the beginning of September now. I think today is like September 6th. And I guess it's officially autumn, which is kind of crazy because we also didn't really have a warm summer. So it just kind of feels like I'm still waiting for summer, but now it's autumn, so I guess summer will need to wait for another year. But in terms of knitting, that's actually really exciting because, yeah, I prefer knitting in colder weather. I prefer knitting when I'm not sweating outside and when I can actually wear my finished sweaters. So I've kind of made these videos in the past where I have like a strict list of all the things I'm going to make, and then I'm kind of scrambling to finish them because I made this promise to myself, like probably in the form of one of these videos, that those are the things I will be knitting this, whatever season it is, winter, spring, or summer. So for this video today, I wanted to kind of talk about the items that like I know I'll be knitting because I have the yarn for them and I've been eyeing them for a long time. And then I also, of course, don't really yet know what I'm gonna be making in like 2 or 3 months. So I'm gonna put like a little bit of inspiration or things that I'm eyeing, but I'm not really sure yet, or things that I have yarn for, but I'm not really sure if I'll make that pattern or maybe if I'll make a different pattern. So that's the way I'm gonna kind of talk about the patterns today. We're gonna start with the ones I'm definitely gonna make because they've been just like on my list for a long time and I'm super excited to cast them on. And then I'm gonna talk about like things I'm inspired by, things I'll probably, you know, cast on like a version of, but it might not be that pattern. So yeah, let's get right into it. So before I start though, I want to talk about what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the zipper sweater light. This is not mine, this is my partner's. So it is like, I am kind of swimming in it. It is very plus size, but I do like to wear it because it's just like a nice lounge wear. This was my last year's autumn knitting project, or one of, and this is PetiteKnit's pattern. I made it in a size medium for him, and I used the Bluefaced Leicester Fleece by the Yorkshire Spinning Company. I think it was the color Fossil. It's like this dark gray. It is like pilling a lot, so I need to pre-shave it, but he wears this thing all the time, and for how much he wears it, I think the pilling is really fine because we've never de-pilled it. So yeah, that was one of my, honestly, probably best things I've ever knit, I will say. It's so versatile. He wears it all the time. My yarn choice was good, and yeah, overall it was just a very like worth it project. So that's setting a good like precedent for my autumn knitting for this year, hopefully. So I don't know if you can hear, but we always get so many church bells here. So we're just gonna continue because they do go on for quite a while and there's not that many breaks in between church bells. I guess that's the beauty of living in Austria. But I want to talk about the first thing, which I already cast on. So this is my first, I guess it's my first autumn knit. This is definitely not a summer knit. So it looks like this right now. It is super scrunched up, but this is the Monday sweater by PetiteKnit. I'm literally, I think I have to split for sleeves like the next round. I think I have 350 stitches on my, I believe it's a 60 or 80 centimeter circular needle. So of course it's very scrunched up right now, but this is what it looks like. And I think this will be such a beautiful color on me as well, come like the autumn and probably also even like Christmas time. I think the Bordeaux is just such a seasonal color. So this has really been getting me into the fall or autumn mood. Like I said, this is the Monday sweater by PetiteKnit. I'm making this in a size S for myself, and the yarn I'm using is this one. So it is the Bluefaced Leicester Wool by Etrofil. I've talked about this yarn before in one of my podcasts, but essentially it is yarn from Turkey, but it is Bluefaced Leicester, and yeah, I got this in Sarajevo in a yarn shop. So yeah, I've just been excited to use it. It's a pretty recent purchase because we were just there, but I think it's just like I've been kind of itching to start using my new yarn that I purchased on holiday. So far so good. It is a little bit on the not scratchy, but like on the rougher side at the moment, which is totally fine. I kind of knew that going into it as well. So yeah, this is what it currently looks like. I'll definitely put in a picture of what PetiteKnit's one looks like as well. I've been meaning to make the sweater for such a long time because I feel like everyone owns multiple versions of it, and yeah, that's probably pretty telling. So I just have been waiting to cast it on. So the gauge for the Monday sweater is 21 stitches, and it is a DK weight knit. I'm knitting mine on 4mm needles, and it's a very, very mindless stockinette project. Because I want to move away, I mean, I don't want to fully move away, but I think every now and then it's definitely good for me as a knitter to move away from stockinette a little bit. I love stockinette, and I will always kind of be like a stockinette girly knitter, but I do want to move away from it a little bit. So the next project that I'm definitely going to make is the Dagmar zipper sweater, also by PetiteKnit. So many people are also knitting this right now, so it's probably not anything new to anyone watching this, but I just think it's such a cool sweater. Like, it is so fun. I think it's good to practice your cabling. I've done like a good amount of cabling in the past, but I don't do it that frequently. I think it's definitely good for me to keep doing cabling every now and then, so this will be what I'm gonna choose as my project. Everyone loves their Dagmar zipper sweater, so I am sure I will love mine as well, and it is kind of a similar construction from what I understand to this one. So this is the regular, like the zipper sweater without any cabling. And what happened is I made this for my partner. We were one skein short, so I had to order one more skein, and then I was like, well, you know what, I'm not gonna order one skein, I'm gonna order a sweater quantity for myself. So the yarn I ordered is the exact same one as the one I'm wearing. It's the Bluefaced Leicester Fleece, but I ordered myself this beautiful green color. It's the color Forest 1039, and I think I'm gonna hold it with this. So I ordered the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair to be held together. I think the colors match really well, so I was really lucky because I always find it a little bit hard to order like a color match online. I mean, when I'm ordering yarn online, I think I'm fine with just kind of picking a color and then like plus minus a few hues or tones, it'll be similar. But yeah, when you're trying to match a color, I think that's much more difficult. So I'm really happy with like the color match of these two. The Knitting for Olive Dagmar zipper sweater is knit in an Aran weight yarn. So the gauge is 18 stitches and 24 rows in a texture pattern. I'm just really hoping that these two together will get me somewhere near that so that I can maybe make a size adjustment to get to my size. It comes in sizes XXS through 5XL, and it's meant to be knit up on 4.5mm needles, which I guess also creates a pretty dense texture. I'm really hoping that I can kind of cast this on once I finish a few more whips, but I'm really looking forward to cast this on so that I can actually like wear it this autumn or winter. I understand that it's a bigger project, so I'm not sure how fast I'll be able to finish it, but I'm really excited about this one. I know that everyone has already made it, and I'm probably really late to the game, but better late than never. I always kind of like to think about what I'm gonna knit a little bit first and not just cast it on kind of impulsively. I mean, I definitely cast things on impulsively, but I think for a beautiful big project like this, I do want to think it through first. The next project of my autumn knitting that I will 100% cast on is it's called Pullover Numo. The designer is Pasquale Collezioni, and it is a men's pullover knit up in all over half fisherman's rib stitch, I believe, and it is knit on a really small gauge. It's knit on I think I got the right gauge. I already gauge swatched for it, but I think I got the right gauge for it on 3mm needles and half fisherman's rib stitch. Yeah, I'm making this for my partner. We've spent a long time kind of looking for a good pattern. I mean, I've talked about this before, but I still haven't gotten to actually casting it on. But we kind of settled on this one just because it's very nice and simple, but it looks very like elegant and sleek because of the half fisherman's rib stitch pattern. Yeah, so this is a originally German pattern and it is translated to English, but what I will say is that when I was even just trying to do the gauge swatch, I had to remind myself of the half fisherman stitch rib pattern, and I was reading it in English and it was just really hard for me to follow the way it was written. So it was essentially written in a way that made me really confused about half fisherman's rib stitch, and I actually paused to check like a video of how to do this stitch because whatever the text was telling me was different to how I remembered it, and following my instinct was definitely correct. I then proceeded to opening the German version of the pattern, which made a lot more sense. I mean, like my native language is German, so I'm lucky in that sense. So I'm not really sure. I've never followed a German stitch pattern, knitting pattern. So I think for this one, I'll probably have both open just to kind of like figure it out. But that's a little side note for this pattern. I think I'm going to be making size M or size L for my partner, and I'll be using the Knitting for Olive Merino held single. So I understand that this will also be a really big project, but that is also really okay. I'm actually really excited about casting this on. I've made one cardigan in half fisherman's rib stitch before and I really like it, but I made it with Drops Air, which is a really fuzzy yarn, so you don't really see the stitch definition of the half fisherman's rib stitch in that cardigan. It looks exactly or very similar to a knit one purl one alteration, where usually the half fisherman's rib stitch really pops and like adds a lot of depth and a very neat definition of the stitches. So with this yarn, with the Knitting for Olive Merino, I'm really excited because this is a very crisp yarn. Like the stitch definition is going to be really nice. Something I'm thinking about is actually sizing down to 2.5mm needles so that I can get it a little bit tighter, because I really don't like it when there's holes like visible in a knitted garment. But yeah, I'm a little bit intimidated by this one because it is a men's sweater that I'm going to be knitting on like a 3mm needle. So I know it's gonna take a long time. I think my aim is to finish it by Christmas so it can kind of be like a Christmas present for him. But I think I also need to be realistic with the time I have and with the other things that are going on. So it would be nice, but I'm not putting any sort of pressure on myself. So those are the 3 patterns that I'm definitely going to be casting on this autumn, but I'm really unsure about how long those 3 items will take me, because the Monday sweater I think is gonna fly off my needles in all honesty. So it's just stockinette stitch at a 21 stitch gauge, so it's really okay. I am pretty fast at knitting stockinette stitch, I would say, and yeah, it's pretty mindless. The other 2 projects, however, I think might take me a little bit longer, so the rest of this video are going to be patterns that I would love to knit if I still have time this autumn and that are really inspiring me right now, but that I'm also totally not putting any pressure on myself, because yeah, I think I don't want to stress knit anything over here. So the first one is a pattern by Veronica Lindberg. I actually just went to grab her book that I'm a very proud owner of. The book is called Knits to Wear. This is her second book, and I mean, I actually did like a full flip through of the book, but I haven't actually knit that much recently from it. I did knit a number of items of it already. I think I've knit like 3 or 4 things from this book, but recently not so much. So in terms of like finding inspiration for the autumn, I kind of picked this book up again and like flipped through it. So the first one that has really kind of motivated me or inspired me is this one. It is called the Sweetheart Sweater, and it is essentially this beautiful lace sweater with these kind of like love heart details. Like the way the lace is done in this book, it just looks like little love hearts, but also in a very subtle way. So I'm really like, I really am interested in this sweater. I think it would also be a nice fall or autumn sweater because it is a little bit more lightweight because of the lace. So it is a 16 stitch and 26 row gauge in this lace weight pattern, which sounds like a pretty loose gauge given that she uses 2 strands of mohair and 1 strand of the merino, so all knitting for olive. In this pattern, she uses 3 and 4.5 millimeter needles. So yeah, I think this is such a beautiful pattern. I'm not really sure, like it would definitely be out of my comfort zone. I mean, my comfort zone is stockinette, we all know that by now, but this one is definitely like an eye catcher in terms of like where my knitting eyes kind of go towards. So I'm kind of like very tempted to cast this on. I definitely don't have 2 strands of mohair lying around in like just a spare mohair, so I would definitely need to like purchase some more, kind of find some yarn alternatives. I have seen people make this in different like yarns, so it's definitely a possibility. The one thing I will say with Veronica Lindberg, or Kutavakika as she is here on YouTube, is that she always tends to hold a lot of yarn together. So for me, who's usually a one-stranded knitter, like the most I'll do is hold a strand of mohair with something else, but only if like I really need it for the pattern. Her holding 3 strands together is a little bit like intimidating or overwhelming, just because I'm not really sure how to compensate that. I understand there's calculators online, like I know all that, but I think in terms of the integrity of the yarn, it might be a bit different using 1 strand compared to 3 strands. But it's also something I have never tried to substitute, because I wanted to cast on like another sweater here, but it was the same, and then I just didn't, because I felt like, yeah, I was inspired by other things quite quickly afterwards. So yeah, so that's the Sweetheart sweater. The other one that I think is beautiful and I will cast on at some point in life. I would love it to be this autumn, but it's also a very intricate pattern. It is the first pattern of the book and it's called Urban Romance. So it's this beautiful like all over lace, I think a little bit of cabling, maybe even sweater. And yeah, I think it's just a very subtle way of creating a very detailed, very like a sweater with a lot of depth. Yeah, so this would also be like a bigger project. It comes in sizes XS through 5XL and it's knit up at a gauge of 18 stitches and 26 rounds on 5 millimeter needles in this like lace chart. I think that's the next thing, is because she holds 3 yarns together and then the gauge swatch is in a lace chart. I find that that's quite a big barrier of entry to a pattern. Yeah, but maybe I just need to get over that barrier and challenge myself to like actually knit some lace and bigger sweaters in terms of cabling. But it's definitely not like the quick solution to starting a sweater. Back to this one, I think it's gorgeous. I think it's so elegant. What I like about this sweater compared to, I think she has a number of other cable sweaters, is that the sleeves are actually tapered. I don't like it when the sleeves are like really long down, like this one is. I mean, this is not mine, but once the sleeves are like really wide down, I think it just gives a very, not a very clean like look, at least in my opinion, unless it's kind of like the whole vibe. But she has another cabled sweater in this book that I wouldn't really know what size to make, because on her, here, this one, on her, it's very oversized and I just don't prefer that style for myself. That's what I like about the first one, the Urban Romance sweater, that it does have the balloon sleeves kind of, just to give it like that finishing touch. I think it's so nice, it's so crisp. So definitely one that I'm inspired by. I would love to cast it on. Yeah. And then one last thing, one last item that I would love to cast on from this book is this hat, the Chloe hat. So it is this very simple hat. I think it has this decreased line at the top. I'm not sure if this is like the best like way to feature. I think it looks kind of awkward here with the weird steps in it, but I don't think, like from looking at the Ravelry photos, I don't think that's like the intended shape of it. Like most people have like a round top. And I think this would be a great stash buster. I think it would be a great quick project if I'm like stuck in between my really long ones or something. So I've definitely been eyeing this kind of for a while. I mean, it's a very simple beanie and you can never like have enough beanies, I guess, but I think this will be a nice, like a little bit of a palette cleanser in between projects, or if you just want to knit something small. So that's the Chloe beanie, also by Kika. In terms of the gauge and needles, I think what I like about it is that you need, what did she say? She said 225 meters of fingering weight yarn and 500 meters of lace weight yarn. So again, it's 3 strands held double, which I think is just really not necessary for a hat. But I understand that that's like her style and like it's just, yeah. But I think it would be a really good stash buster because you can hold 3 strands together, and 225 meters is usually like around, like it should be 1 skein of a fingering weight yarn. Like I know that the Knitting for Olive merino yarns, they have around like 220 meters or something. So I think it should be doable with like a relatively small amount of yarn. So it might be like a nice stash buster. And the gauge is 20 stitches by 30 rows in stockinette stitch. So I don't think it's necessary to really hold 3 yarns together. I think you can definitely hold like the Knitting for Olive double, for example, which I actually still have left over. So I might do that for my recent sweater that I've made. Okay, so next I want to share a series of sweaters that I've been eyeing. I think I'm always ready to cast on a nice stockinette sweater. I laugh because that's kind of like all the sweaters I've made so far, or most of the sweaters I've made have been stockinette. I just love it. I think there's just something so nice about a stockinette sweater. But the next one I'm going to share actually has a little bit of color work. It is the Opal sweater by Ozetta. I think I've actually shared this before. I just really think it's elegant. I think it's such a beautiful sweater. It's simple, but then there's like a little something that will draw your eyes to it. So the designer is Hayley Smedley, and I think she's the designer behind Ozetta Knitwear from what I understand. This is a pattern that is knit at a 21 stitch gauge. It comes in sizes XS through 5XL, and it features this beautiful color work on the sleeves of the sweater, which then balloon inwards, and I think that is so nice. That is so crisp. It would be a really nice fall sweater. Pick a fall color and it just kind of screams autumn. So yeah, it's knit up on 4.5 and 4 millimeter needles, and it seems like it's a raglan construction, which is also a lot of people's favorite. Like a top-down raglan is always kind of like the gold star of sweater construction, at least from what I see online. And I would also say for myself, I really like a top-down raglan. Next, we have a sweater that I think is beautiful. If I'm being honest, I don't think I'll have time to knit it this autumn. But I really wanted to share it here because I think it's so inspiring and it's really beautiful. It's called the Field Sweater by Camilla Vad. And it is essentially this round yoke sweater with what seems like these like barley grains on it, like the stalks of barley or some sort of like wheat, which I think just screams fall when like the harvesting is done. And I think the colors, especially like in this sample picture she chose, are so like they just scream autumn to me. The gauge here is a 20 stitch gauge in stockinette, and she uses 3.5 and 4 millimeter needles, and the pattern comes in sizes 1 through 9. Yeah, and I think this is also just a really good project to kind of practice a few new techniques and have a garment that is really elegant and perfect for the autumn season. Then the next one is also a very sleek, basic, yet super elegant sweater. It's called the Zero Sweater with a C by Morika Knit. And it is essentially a oversized drop shoulder constructed sweater. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Kika or Veronica Lindbergh's Simple Things sweater, which I knit last winter, in that it's a kind of like oversized, thick collar, like very like squishy looking sweater with like a twisted rib. The difference here is that the sleeve cuffs are actually split, so it kind of gives like a little bit more of like a blouse vibe. Like it definitely adds elegance to the sweater. This one is knit up in a DK and a lace weight yarn, so it is a gauge of 21 stitches and 28 rows and 10 centimeters. It's knit up on 3 and 4 millimeter needles and comes in sizes XS through 5XL. And yeah, I think this is also an item that you could totally wear to the office when you need to be a little bit more elegant. It's so beautiful. Yeah, so that's the Ciro sweater, or Cairo sweater. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. Next is another pattern by Veronica Lindberg, another sweater that I'm inspired by. I think I just kind of like refound my love for this book and like the patterns in it. So it is this sweater right here. It's called Take Me Out, and it features this twisted rib stitch bottom edge and handcuffs, which I think is so, so beautiful. And the eyelets kind of just add a little bit of interest like to the body of the sweater. I think this is so, so nice. It's a simple sweater. It'll be mainly stockinette stitch, but the few little details just make it super interesting and kind of makes you want to keep looking at it. She does include a male's version on here, but I think I would make it for myself. I don't think my partner would really be into that. So this is another Veronica Lindberg pattern. This is a very Veronica Lindberg heavy video, but I think her patterns just like deserve attention as well. Yeah, I think she does such a lovely job. The gauge here is 17 stitches and 24 rows in 10 centimeters in stockinette stitch, and she uses needle sizes 3.5 and 5 millimeters. And in her samples, one sweater is knit with 2 strands and the other sweater is again knit with 3 strands. Yeah, I think she just really likes holding 2 strands of mohair together is what I'm gathering. But of course, that's also something that can be adjusted quite easily. So I've been wanting to make a vest for myself for quite a while. I'm still a little bit torn between a vest that kind of like opens and has buttons at the front, or a like full sweater vest that's not open in the front. So the first one that's kind of inspiring me right now is called Kreuzberg by Rebecca Mauser. I don't know if that's a German name, but I guess I just pronounced it that way. It is a striped sweater with these beautiful like muted colors that are definitely like within the same palette. I don't think I'll make this specific vest because I just don't have those colors to go with each other, but it's definitely one that's inspiring me. This is in the book 52 Weeks of Easy Knits, but you can purchase the pattern by itself. Another vest that is like an open vest is more like a jacket. I'm not really sure what you call it, but it's called the Fluffy Fleece Vest by Johanna Reus. And this is such a cool, this one does not look handmade at all because of the like very fluffy yarn. And I think this one is also, for me, this serves as really nice inspiration because I just kind of want one of those, but I think I'm gonna self-draft it. So I think with the stripe one, maybe the colors from the stripe one and like this shape, but I don't have this sort of like fluffy fleece that she uses in terms of material. Nor do I think I'll buy one. I kind of want to hold some strands of yarn that I have in stock here together to kind of create like my own fleece vest or my own vest. But these two are kind of the ones that I'm really taking a lot of inspiration from. If you want to make this pattern, the gauge is 13 stitches and 22 rows and 10 centimeters, knit up on 4 and 5 millimeter needles. And it comes in sizes 1 through 6. And yeah, I think it's really fun. I love the pink. I'm not sure what I would do with a pink vest. I think I would need to buy some other clothing to kind of be able to go with that, but I really love it. Maybe I will. I don't know. I'm just very inspired by it at the moment. Another idea that I had, because I ordered a number of Knitting for Olive like merino, just this one, and I'm gonna have some left essentially, is to make the Friday tee by PetiteKnit, but make it long sleeve, which I think would be a really nice thin garment. I understand that it's broken rib, and I also understand that that's going to take a very long time, but just an idea that I think if you make this Friday tee long sleeve, it would be a really nice layering piece and also a very comfortable wear, especially if you make it out of something like the Knitting for Olive merino, because you would have to hold it single, but with the construction of it, I think that would be really nice. It's an idea I have that I might need to park for now, but it's an idea that I also wanted to share in case someone else can find inspiration from it. I know that the Friday tee is very popular and a lot of people are loving to knit it like for the summer and to wear it in the summer. But yeah, I think it could also be a really cool garment if you make it long sleeved for the autumn, or I guess the in-between seasons. The gauge is 28 stitches and 44 rows and 10 centimeters in the broken rib stitch. It's knit on 2.5 and 3mm needles, and it comes in sizes XS through 5XL. So yeah, it would definitely be a slower project because of the small gauge, but I think it's one that could be really worth it. And I don't know, I've just been eyeing it, so let's see. Another item that I would love to knit in the autumn, which I think would also be very practical, is a hood. When hoods first became a thing, I will openly admit that I wasn't the biggest fan. I think they were weird. I think like, why would I need a hood if I have my jacket hood? But they've really grown on me. I've really just kind of completely switched my opinion on them. I think they're so cool now, and I think that's also totally fine to kind of go through that process of like changing your opinions about something. So now I think I want to make one because I bike to work in the mornings and it's gonna be really cold in the winter, and just having that like extra little layer that I kind of put on top of my head, that like even if I need to wear one, like the helmet could still fit on top. I think that would be really nice. I have two hoods for inspiration. I understand that PetiteKnit has a Sophie hood, but we're gonna park that because everyone already knows about that one. The one I really liked on Ravelry was My Jose Hood by Norgar Knitters. It's kind of a garter stitch hood with the scarf around it. I was looking for patterns with the scarf around it because I think I would definitely appreciate the extra warmth that comes from that. This one is knit on 5mm needles. It is one size and it is all garter stitch, which makes me think that it'll probably be a pretty quick project. It's 18 stitches and 34 rows in 10 centimeters, and yeah, I just really like it. I also really like the little bow tie at the front. I think that's super cute. The second hood that I also found interesting was the Alex hood by Knitting for Olive. This one is at a smaller gauge at 34 stitches and 28 rows and 10 centimeters, but I really like the rib style at it. I think it looks a little bit more elegant than the other hood. Maybe eventually I'll end up making both, definitely not this autumn, but I think those two are my kind of like my favorite ones that I found when I was browsing for patterns. This one is designed by Pernille Larsen from Knitting for Olive. So of course you use Knitting for Olive merino and soft silk mohair held together. So those were all my pattern plans and pattern inspirations for autumn. I think I definitely won't be able to make everything that I talked about, that's obvious, but I'm super excited to move into this new season, hopefully finish my summer whips, which has been a little bit of a drag, but maybe I'll just park them until next year in all honesty, because I'm not going to be wearing tank tops in the next few months. But I think in terms of in a knitter's life, the changing of seasons from summer to autumn are probably some of the favorite weeks of the year. It's finally getting colder again. We can wear our knitted garments again, and I just take I find a lot of inspiration in that, and I just really love being able to wear my knitwear, to think about what knitwear I want to make and wear for the upcoming cold season. So yeah, I'm very excited about the patterns that I'm going to be making. I want to hear about what everyone else is making as well, so please leave that down below. I always love hearing about it. I do often also kind of look up patterns, what other people are making. I just think it's so fun and so interesting. So leave all that down below. I'm gonna end the video right here. So if you liked it, I would love for you to give it a thumbs up. Maybe, yeah, even subscribe if you want to stick around in the long run. And I'll see you in the next one. Until then, I hope you take care. Bye.